What's happening, PricePlow Nation? This is Mike, founder of PricePlow, and today we're going to have a pretty serious take because we're going to be talking about men's health. So what's up to all the men out there and all the loving women who care about their men? We're going to be talking about prostate health, and specifically, we're going to do an old school, hardcore ingredient explainer on Revive MD's new prostate supplement. Now, normally in these videos, I actually have the bottle to hold. It's not going to be a review. I have not taken it. This is an ingredient explainer, and we do have a business relationship with Revive MD, but I believe the science on this one's going to speak for itself. But normally I have the bottle on me. In this case, I don't. And that's because the last time my parents visited, my dad actually stole the bottle. I told him not to do that until I made this video, but I said, this one's for you. And he ended up taking it home anyway. So I don't have the bottle. You're going to see some close-up shots, and that's going to be for my parents' iPhone up in Cleveland. So Dad, this one's for you. Anyway, we don't have the bottle here, but we are going to talk about what's on the label and why this is so important. And the long story short is that a few years back, when my dad wanted to get some prostate assistance, and we'll talk about why and all that, but he wanted a couple of prostate supplements in order to get the efficacious doses of what I wanted him to take. It required 3 different supplements. And that was about 6 or 7 capsules per day. Now, for some of us, that's not a big deal. We put together stacks and have lots of capsules and everything. A lot of other people, especially if they're not like supplement bros like some of us, there's going to be a lot of compliance issues with that. Not everyone wants to take 7 capsules per day, and buying 3 different supplements every month, it gets repetitive and everything. And that's just how it was. That was the stack I wanted my dad to take until this one right here. Revive MD's prostate supplement has everything I wanted, but in just 4 capsules taken daily. And while it is, it's not a cheap supplement. None of this Revive MD stuff is. And we do have a PricePlow coupon code and everything. And that's not even an affiliate-based coupon code, but we do have a business relationship with them. This is a supplement that replaces, for me, 3 different supplements, ultimately saving you money. And that's what Revive MD has been doing. They've been so popular because they're putting together such well-rounded general health supplements. And they've done it time and time again, from their glucose. Heather and I just covered their lipid supplement last month. So you can, if you're on YouTube, we'll make a link back to that. There's so many great things. But for those who are looking for some serious support, Dr. Dominic Iacovone and Matt Jensen are running Revive MD, and other brands are taking note because they're getting copied a lot. But these guys are formulating some bombed out supplements, and this is the one for those who are dealing with maybe some prostate issues. And of course, we got to make our disclaimers here right now. While this product has been formulated by a doctor, it is a supplement and is not intended to treat, cure, diagnose, or solve any true medical issues. And but I do believe that the science speaks for itself. There's some really good stuff in here that is at least worth a shot in conjunction with talking to your doctor and coming up with a good formulation. Now, typically, we're going to get into the dirt here a little bit, but long story short, I'm stoked about this supplement because it allows me to give my dad something, or allows him to steal something, that requires just 1 supplement, 4 capsules, rather than the 3 with 7 capsules that I had formulated for him before. Long story short, that's why I'm stoked about this. It's another well-rounded product from Revive MD. So the story really begins with benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. And this is a condition. Over the course of time, a lot of men's prostate glands enlarge, and they enlarge to the point where it causes bladder or urinary tract problems. The most common symptom you'll hear about, and you'll see TV commercials for the drugs and everything, are urination problems. The bladder, when the prostate is so large that it presses up against the bladder, it makes you feel like you have to pee a lot, and next thing you know, you're urinating multiple times per night, and then your sleep goes downhill. And as we all know, when the sleep goes downhill, everything goes downhill. So it's a very serious issue. Now, I'll have my opinions on, some people say, oh, it just happens as you age. And I don't necessarily buy that. I do believe it's a lot of the processed food and a lot of the inflammatory seed oils and too much refined carbohydrate, all that stuff. I'm obviously not a fan of, if you've been following, but if we're here to talk about a supplement and some of these ingredients that can help with this issue. But in general, we're looking at 2 different things here. And first is BPH, as mentioned. And the second is some people may be coming in with elevated PSA levels, and that is the prostate-specific antigen, which is an indicator of increased chance of prostate cancer. And I hate to say the C word in these videos because this is a supplement, and if you're going down that road, you obviously need to talk to a doctor. Let's make it very, very clear, and you need to follow the treatment plan. But some of these ingredients, well, they've been shown to lower PSA levels, so it is worth looking into at the very least. And in our blog post that's attached, we do have a lot of citations where you can go look at all the studies. Just hover over that citation number and click the link to the study and go read it for yourself. Hopefully you know how to find the full text on the ones that don't have full text and everything. But this is very important. And also make sure that you kind of realize that just because something might, like we talked about in the LDL video last month with lipid, just because something lowers a certain number doesn't mean it's like solving or curing anything either. So just because an ingredient may be lowering PSA levels doesn't mean we're really truly possibly treating the cause, the root cause of an issue that may lead to disastrous consequences later. So understand that. But there is some pretty good research to discuss here. So those are the two things that we're kind of starting to chase here. But first, there's a lot of minerals in this supplement, and they actually help cover for the deficiencies that we find when men run into prostate issues. And so that's what we're gonna start with, is some of these minerals. So the first ingredient, the first mineral that we're gonna talk about in Revive MD's prostate is copper. Specifically, and this is important, copper bisglycinate chelate. And the story here is first let's just talk about copper. And copper is obviously a mineral, and it's a trace mineral. You don't need a whole lot of this. So we just have 500 micrograms of this, and that's going to end up yielding 55% of your recommended daily value. So it's not 100% or anything, but you're most likely going to be able to get enough from the rest of your diet. This helps cover in insurance. So copper is involved with the production of red blood cells, and is involved in tons and tons of enzymatic biochemical reactions in the body. The issue is, and this is going to happen with a lot of the other minerals we're going to talk about, is that when you're copper deficient, there is a strong correlation. I'm not saying it's a causation, but there's a very strong correlation that a copper deficiency is correlated with prostate cancer. So what they notice is that a lot of these prostate cancer patients have very low copper levels, and we're going to talk about that with selenium and the other minerals as well. Now, there could be a chance that maybe when you develop the cancer, then your copper levels drop. There's things that it could happen, but either way, it is so smart to get the proper minerals in, and it is a smart idea to stay away from what other, cancer patients are dealing with. So if we can cover with that, then it's a good idea, especially if it takes up like almost no room in the capsule here. So what we have, though, I mentioned this copper bisglycinate chelate. This is a special form of copper where the long story short is that the intestines and our body, we're not good at absorbing minerals like zinc. You see in a lot of these cheap zinc supplements. A lot of these we've been talking a lot about lately because they are strong for the immune system as well. This one's no different. But we're not good at absorbing minerals. We are, however, really good at absorbing proteins and specifically amino acids. So we are actually going to be Trojan horsing. I like to use that phrase. It's kind of true. We're Trojan horsing the copper in by attaching it to a glycine molecule. Glycine is a very benign amino acid, especially at these crazy small doses. And your small intestines will rapidly and readily suck in that glycine, and along comes the copper for the ride as well. And that's why Revive MD is using it. This technology is very, very effective for tons of different minerals. And it's awesome that Revive MD is spending a little bit more to get the good stuff. You can't just throw copper in there and expect yourself to absorb it. You're only as good as what you absorb, and you're able to absorb the glycine-bound copper far better. So in general, we are just trying to stay away from deficiency here, not really cure anything, just stay away from deficiency. And no matter what your diet is, 55% daily value of some extra copper that's easily absorbed is a great idea. Now, second, with Revive MD Prostate, we have selenium. And selenium is, this is a dose that is at the 90% daily recommended value, and it's 50 micrograms. It's also, it's bound to citrate in this case. So not a glycine bound molecule, but it is a more highly bioavailable form in citrate. I often take magnesium citrate. It's kind of a good cost to benefit ratio I find with the citrate bound minerals. So anyway, with selenium, we have a lot of the same stories. It helps with thyroid hormone metabolism, and it helps with DNA synthesis and repair. And there's a whole lot of immune support claims made lately with selenium as well. But we're talking about some of the men stuff going on here. And there's a bunch of studies that actually show that selenium deficiency, on top of all the immune problems that it causes and everything, can also lead to, or at least has been highly correlated with, infertility. So first things first, selenium, again, takes up like literally no room in these capsules. A really good thing to add. But we need a little bit more than that, because this isn't really a fertility supplement. It's, it's a men's supplement, so we're happy to have this here. But the main story here is that several studies, so many studies that in 2017 they had a meta-analysis kind of demonstrating this even stronger, is that those men who have high enough selenium levels have a far, far lower risk of prostate cancer. And there's a few different proteins that selenium is involved in the creation of, such as it's a component of albumin, selenoprotein, and glutathione peroxidase. And these are some of the ones that the researchers are attributing to the quote-unquote success of selenium. Either way, it's really important not to be deficient and to be proficient in your selenium, because so many problems occur when you're deficient. Now note though that if you're eating like a ton of like Brazil nuts, for instance, you can have selenium toxicity. We're only at 90% here, but if you're going way too high, things can happen in the reverse. I'm not at all worried about that at all with this, but it's just something to note. And there's also, for those of you who are very low carb dieters or keto dieters or whatever, there are some issues with selenium deficiency there as well. So this is just one of those minerals. You need to check your multivitamin, make sure, check your diet, take a look at things and make sure you're getting enough. But when it comes to prostate, deficiency is yet another really, really bad situation to be in terms of prostate issues. So make sure you're leveling up on selenium. And finally, to round out the minerals, we have zinc. Yeah, this is starting to sound a little bit like an immune system supplement. A lot of these things are kind of connected in terms of avoiding the deficiencies, but it's not an immune system supplement. Anyway, we have 10 milligrams coming from zinc, bisglycinate chelate, another glycine-bound form of the mineral. And that's going to give us a 90% recommended daily value. It's easy to get the rest. And the same story. It helps with the DNA synthesis. It's hugely, hugely important with red blood cells, and hugely, hugely important with the immune system. But what researchers found in some studies is that those who have prostate cancer are excreting tons and tons of zinc. This is something you need to re-up a lot. I've been very vocal about eating lots of red meat. I do not believe the red meat or the meat connection with cancer, especially if it's like grass-fed, true to the earth types of meat, that are animals that are happy and all that. Anyway, I've been very big on eating foods that are high in zinc, but still not everyone's going out there eating 1.5 pounds of red meat a day. And I get that. I don't agree with that, but I get that. So you might need to level up that zinc, especially if you're possibly in a situation where you might be excreting it more. And again, this is the glycine bound one, so the same story applies. The glycine is absorbed and the zinc gets taken in far better than the cheap zinc oxide you see in some of those other supplements. You're not going to see that with a Revive MD supplement. I could nearly guarantee it. So that rounds out our minerals. We're covering for those deficiencies, because those deficiencies are where problems either are correlated with or actually occurring. So let's just be on the safe side. It doesn't take a ton of space or anything in the capsule. But now we're going on to the next ingredient, and you can keep following. This is where things are going to get serious in terms of true, real deal prostate assistance. So you remember when I needed to make 3 different supplements to formulate my dad's stack for his prostate stack. One of the main reasons, because I wanted a solid dose of pumpkin seed oil. And pumpkin seed oil, there are so many studies showing that it helps improve the symptoms of BPH to the point where men aren't, and I don't want to make claims or anything, there's no medical claims. Let's just talk about the urination issue. A lot of men experience a lot more of that urination frequency when supplementing regularly with an efficacious dose such as 1 gram. And that's what we have here. So this is basically taking up like 2 of the capsules. And it is one of the most important ingredients that men who are concerned about their prostates should look into. We cite about 3 or 4 studies in the blog post. So we'll link to that again if you're watching on YouTube. Read those studies and check it out. But time and time again, there's pumpkin seed oil has been shown to reduce the symptoms of BPH, and most commonly the symptoms that most people are complaining about is the urination thing, especially in the middle of the night. Obviously, we want to do other things like don't drink a ton of water right before bed, and then maybe at the end of the video we'll talk about some tricks about that as well. But in general, pumpkin seed oil is one of the most important ingredients to look into, but we don't need any like small doses. You need a whole gram. So it's kind of like too little to put into a powdered supplement, and people don't want to be drinking a powdered supplement before bed or anything, but too much for capsules. You know what? Let's take up the 2 capsules here because it is that important. Now finally, a lot of people may be wondering what's in pumpkin seed extract that's so important. And in general, the actual mechanism of action isn't fully known. Now researchers, we talk about this in our blog post, more research is warranted, but the current theory as to why this combination may improve symptoms is anti-androgenic activity, decreased globulin availability, anti-inflammatory effects, and alteration of cholesterol metabolism. So you have a few things happening here. I think some of us men, as the testosterone wears on our scalps, it might also wear a little bit on our other bodies. We hit it hard in life, and then it gets hit hard in the prostate too. So anyway, I think we will need to update that over time, because maybe we'll have Dr. Dominic chime in with his ideas on the mechanism of action. Either way, time and time again, pumpkin seed extract and pumpkin seed oil seems to work incredibly well, and too many supplements have too low of doses. Give me a gram or more. So our next ingredient is one that most prostate supplement consumers are going to be very familiar with, and I'm talking about saw palmetto. What's cool about what ReviveMD is doing is that they fully disclose the extracts, because there's some good extracts on the market and there's some bad extracts on the market. And ReviveMD is using one that is standardized to contain 85 to 95% fatty acids and sterols, and this is a 400 milligram dose. So taking up 2/3 or so of a capsule there as well. If you're starting to see how we're filling up these capsules with good doses, we see saw palmetto in like nearly every prostate supplement, but the combination of the pumpkin seed oil and the saw palmetto is really what I'm excited about. You don't always see efficacious doses of all this stuff together. Again, that's why I don't need a 3-supplement stack anymore, and that's why my dad stole a supplement. Anyway, this has been covered basically to death with tons and tons of studies, to the point where we now have meta-analyses on saw palmetto for urinary conditions and prostate conditions. And in our blog post, we cite one meta-analysis that is then analyzing 18 different studies. So like when I said this has been studied very well, it has been studied very well. Not to the level of like caffeine or creatine, but it's really up there, and that's how serious this issue is. So in that study, nearly a total of 3,000 males, the supplementation significantly reduced urinary tract symptom scores, nocturia frequency or urination during the middle of the night and all that, and it improved peak urinary flow. Now there have been some studies, the urinary flow thing is debatable, because there's been some studies that don't show that, and there are some studies that do show it. So that effect might not be as strong as it is with pumpkin seed extract, but in general, there are tons and tons of pro-urinary effects from saw palmetto extract. It seems to be slightly hit or miss to some people, and that's why I like to see it with something that's also strong, such as the pumpkin seed oil and all of our minerals that are helping to make these reactions occur. Now, with some other studies we talk about, the main thing that saw palmetto does is that it helps prevent your conversion from testosterone to DHT. It is an alpha-5 reductase inhibitor. So regarding some of the other research, one of the main mechanisms we see saw palmetto involved in is that it is known as an alpha-5 reductase inhibitor. You may have heard of that in some of the hair loss type supplements, because it helps prevent the conversion of testosterone to DHT. So you can keep some of that testosterone, not get as much DHT, and maybe keep your hair maybe a touch longer. But that's not really why we're here. But a lot of this stuff is all connected for us men, and saw palmetto has some of the effects to enable you to keep your testosterone a little bit longer and not have as much DHT growing up on that scalp and maybe elsewhere. So now, in terms of some of the mechanisms of action, it seems that it is able to modulate the levels of COX-2 expression, and that is actually correlated with increased risk of prostate cancer. So that's where we start getting into some of the mechanisms and some of the theoreticals and everything. Like, not all this stuff is fully understood, but with saw palmetto, we do know that you're going to have no, I can't say that. I'm not going to make claims here, but a lot of people are having a lot better overall urinary conditions, and it seems to alleviate other issues that cause issues for men, if you know where I'm going here. So that's kind of where I'm at with saw palmetto. It's in every prostate supplement, but it's not always enough, but it's very important to have if you're going to have a very well-rounded prostate supplement like Revive MD is here. So after saw palmetto, we have stinging nettle, 300 milligrams worth. Another pretty good, really good dose, especially because it is a 20-to-1 standardized extract. So it's not just taking, stinging nettle powder and, fairy dusting it into the supplement. They're actually extracting the constituents that they believe to help, once again, prevent the conversion from DHT or from testosterone to DHT. So you do see this in a lot of testosterone, natural testosterone boosting supplements, and it's not really gonna boost testosterone as much as allow you to keep your testosterone. And so that is the mechanism that is blamed for a lot of the BPH that occurs in prostate. I didn't mention that in the saw palmetto part of the video, but DHT seems to be problematic for the prostate. So keeping it low, keeping testosterone high, everyone's happy. Most of the studies on stinging nettle do revolve around that, but there is one specific to prostate that there might be more, but the one we studied in our blog post showed that it was from 2005, and it concluded that stinging nettle supplementation had beneficial effects on the treatment of BPH symptoms over an 18-month time frame. And you got to realize that if you have prostate issues and you want to continue the same diet and you don't want to be a biohacker tinkering with this or do any insane surgical things just yet or whatever, you might be in this for the long haul. And some of these studies, and the studies that last 18 months are incredible. I wish we had more of them, but this is more of a you're kind of on this ride for at least a long time, if not for life. And you got to realize that. So when we're talking about long-term studies, 18 months is great. Sometimes you'll see some effects within a month. I think pumpkin seed extract, I see some people having effects in weeks and everything, but at the same time, it's kind of like use it or lose it in a way, and so you might have to keep using it. And I don't want to suck you into having to buy this supplement over and over and over, but that might be the state where you're at, especially if you're going to keep the diet and don't feel like split testing different diets and everything. There's a lot of things that we could do to try to improve our overall health. But long story short, I like ingredients that let us keep our testosterone, especially when we're starting to, it's been slowly, that hair's been going. And that means that if I have more DHT, prostate might be taking a hit too. So next up, we have another 300 milligram dose ingredient, and we're talking about DIM or dindolomethane. We'll stick to DIM in this one. We oftentimes see this one in hormone optimizing supplements, especially the anti-estrogen and the natural testosterone boosting ones. And that's really what we're doing here. This is more of the men's safeguard one here, because DIM helps prevent the conversion from testosterone to estrogen. So once again, keeping our testosterone in check and keeping our estrogen in check. Now, we're not trying to, estrogen is not evil. We all have it in our bodies. We're not trying to drop it to zero. That's not what the goal is. We need it, but we don't want too much. I'm sure you may have met someone who's been, cycling on and off certain things, and their estrogen goes high, and they're probably not fun to be around when the estrogen is too high. Well, this is one of those ingredients that at least tries to help keep it in check. Now, if you're doing pharmaceuticals, you're going to need something stronger. But for the guys who are just, in natty mode, looking to have proper balanced hormone levels, I think DIM is a great substance, especially at 300 milligrams. In general though, I don't see any studies with specific respect to prostate. So we're going to kind of go to the next one, but the general idea is overall hormonal balance. I think Revive MD's, this is a guy supplement, so might as well do the right thing. We're keeping testosterone around in this way. Might as well do it in this way. And possibly there is some studies out there that we missed, and apologies if so, but in general, right now, we're just looking to keep our estrogen in check as well, which I think is a good thing to do no matter what. Now, for our next ingredient, this is interesting because it actually is a constituent of saw palmetto. We don't know how much exactly we're getting out of saw palmetto, but we're getting a little bit of more of this it's in solo form, because we're talking 150 milligrams of Beta-Sitosterol. And once again, this is kind of one of those DHT blockers, and scientists aren't still sure how saw palmetto is doing his thing, but Beta-Sitosterol gets a lot of the credit from a lot of people. So there are a couple of studies showing that Beta-Sitosterol, which is one of the plant sterols found again in saw palmetto, this Beta-Sitosterol on its own is working as a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, and there are some studies showing that it alone also helps with symptoms of BPH. So I think this is a great thing, because you have like the saw palmetto berry and you want the full spectrum, but sometimes you know exactly that I want this specific chemical inside because there's like specific research on that as well. So Revive MD throws that in as well. So there's definitely, I'm gonna say more than 150 milligrams of beta-sitosterol inside of this supplement. We don't know exactly how much because the saw palmetto standardization isn't like exactly laid out. Someone could do a lab test or whatever, but the point is that there's a specific component in the saw palmetto that has a lot of beneficial benefits. We'll keep it. Anyway, it's got a lot of benefits, and there's other benefits as well, including in terms of cholesterol and lipid levels and everything. But here we're looking at the improvement of BPH scores, benign prostatic hyperplasia once again, and saw palmetto might be doing the job on its own, but you might want to, extremely precision target exactly what we want, and that's the beta-sitosterol in this case. But it's good to have the full spectrum as well. I just love, I'm a fan of Revive MD. I love when they do this because you see too many supplement companies doing one or the other. And it's like, well, what if there's something else in the saw palmetto? Or what if it's just beta-sitosterol? And then they go with the old, why not do both meme? So I'm all for it. All right, folks, just 2 more ingredients left. I tell you, these formulas are loaded. We're getting to the smaller dose stuff. It doesn't mean it's the weak stuff. And next up, we have pine bark extract, standardized at 95% oligomeric Proanthocyanidins, and that is a 50 milligram dose. So pine bark extract, we see a lot in the pre-workout supplement world, the nitric oxide boosting world, maybe even the ED world, because it boosts blood flow, and that's a great thing. We'll take it as men. I'll take this stuff in any supplement almost because it's going to enhance, a lot of times when you get improved blood flow, you're going to get enhanced nutrient delivery and absorption of other things as well. However, that's not good enough for us. In this case, we need some specific research for the prostate, and we actually do get that. Pine bark extract has been tested against BPH, and I'm gonna just read what we wrote here. So here's the landmark study. It was 75 males. These aren't small studies too. Like, sometimes you see studies with 8 people, and this is 75. They had symptoms of benign prostatic hyperplasia, split into 3 groups. And the first group was standard, and just the standard treatment, just a control group. Second group also had pine bark extract, and the third group had a drug. And so the group that received pine bark extract significantly had improved BPH symptoms. Now, I'm not going to say it's to the level of a drug. This is just a 50 milligram bark extract that helps with blood flow, but it seems to have assisted BPH all on its own. And that's a great thing because we have a lot of ingredients that we can help amplify a little bit of blood flow with, and I think pine bark extract is kind of overlooked in a lot of these prostate supplements. So this is one in my dad's stack that I kind of overlooked, and I see this study and I'm like, oh, here we go. Revive MD showing you what's going on. 50 milligrams doesn't take that much room up. Might as well toss it in. Now, these pine bark extracts are sometimes very pricey, and they're sometimes not good. So that's why I like that Revive MD is standardizing for 95% extract. They're getting the good stuff, and I know they pay for the good stuff. And well, yeah, the costs are sometimes passed on to us, but I don't want any cheapo pine bark extract. I want the good stuff, and this is similar to the stuff that was used in the study. But finally, talking about the mechanism, it seems to be something that is reducing DHT, at least in mice. That's a theorized mechanism of action for humans, but chances are that's it's somewhere along those lines. So we're getting another DHT preventer. And so this is starting to look like a little bit of a hair loss supplement too. Our problems are small, but they're all like kind of, when they get big all together in this big little snowball. And DHT, too much testosterone is a good thing when you're young. Over the course of time, starts turning to DHT, becomes a problem. This seems to be a supplement that has a lot of attacks on these these mechanisms that get to us as we age. So I like it. I'm excited about it. And then we have 1 ingredient left. Now, many people have probably heard of Lycopene from the multivitamin commercials. It's found in tomatoes, and there's actually a great connection between people who eat tomatoes, lots of tomatoes, and general health and avoiding disastrous health consequences. We Italians, we like our tomato sauces, nice and spicy. Anyway, what they found, and a lot of the researchers are quote unquote blaming, or I guess attributing, those really positive effects of tomatoes to lycopene. And that's when they started including it into those, general over-the-counter multivitamins that you see commercials for and everything. And there seems to be good reason. However, again, we need to see specific studies to our concerns here at prostate, and it turns out there's actually a lot. So there's actually, it's not a meta-analysis, it's a review covering 12 different studies. And those studies concluded that there is an inverse relationship between lycopene consumption and levels of PSA and prostate cancer. So we don't want to make claims, of course, but they noticed that people who seem to eat lots of lycopene-rich foods or supplement lycopene are getting less prostate troubles down the road. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that, and it might not necessarily be the lycopene, but it seems to be a very strong enough connection that it was covered over the course of 12 papers and shown to be significant. So it's definitely worth having, especially because I think you only need we have 20 milligrams in here. So it's not a huge deal. And there's a lot of other benefits that could be there in terms of cardiovascular health and some other things. But in general, there seems to be a strong connection between people who eat these foods or get this ingredient and people who don't have as many problems. So it's worth having. It's almost on the opposite end of the deficiency thing we saw with the minerals. And that's why it's a great way to end this video. Now, if you're watching IGTV, we probably had to break it into 2 different videos. I appreciate you watching. For me, this is obviously an important thing. You know, there's a family member who's asking for help, and I'm sitting there messing around spreadsheets, adding 3 different supplements together, and that was the best I could do. I needed a company like Revive MD to come along. Maybe I should have done it, but that's neither here nor there. We needed a company to just come on and throw in the kitchen sink. People are willing to pay for these if it reduces their symptoms, obviously, but it reduces the legwork you got to do. And that's what Revive MD is doing so well. If you got kidney issues, take a look at the ingredients in their kidney supplement. If you have lipid issues, watch our video as we break down some of the lipid stuff. Who would have known this artichoke extract would have so much research? There are literally, I mentioned this in that video, they can't find ways with drugs to safely increase HDL levels and to get the benefits of that healthy cholesterol. But there turns out that there's some plant extracts and there's some supplements that can do that. And we have the same thing here. So once again, if you got to work with your doctor here. There's no claims or anything. There's just some really cool research. And if you are struggling with prostate issues, or if you're finding yourself just starting to go to the bathroom a little bit at the end of the, before you're waking up naturally, and it's starting to get aware on you, look into the pumpkin seed oil and look into some of this stuff. Obviously, you might need further help, and you should get all the blood tests. And there might even be invasive biopsies that might be needed, and it's not fun. But you know what, we need to watch our prostates at the end of the day, and we need to cover for the deficiencies, and we need to find ways to get some damn sleep throughout the whole night. Now, there are sleep aids out there, and they're not gonna help you if you're having to wake up. Your body will wake you up to urinate. When your bladder's got to go, you feel it, and you're gonna wake up. You don't want to be knocked totally out. But some of these sleep aids are powdered supplements that require water to take before bed. In this case, I would advise not to drink those. But if you do, one idea I have, if you are drinking something before bed, is to maybe add a little bit of glycerol. And this is an ingredient we see in the hydration, volumizing kind of pump supplements. You get that swole effect, that water pump, but it helps you hold the water. So I'm wondering if maybe adding some glycerol might help you hold a little bit more water. Now, of course, if you have a prostate gland pressing up on your bladder, then that might not feel good at all. It might actually work poorly for you, but I think it's something to consider if you do want to take a sleep supplement that does have requires you to drink some liquid, and try to do it in as small of a shot as possible. Go to the bathroom before you go to bed, and make sure you're nasal breathing. I practice mouth taping when I sleep, and I use a nasal dilator. Those little mute plugs they put up my nose. They're not always comfortable. They're great for cardio, and they're great for sleeping at night. I sleep on my back lately. It took me a long time to switch to that mode. And I am back to sleeping through the night. And sometimes sleeping through even when the kid wakes us up and everything, because of some of these methods. And it might sound weird taping your mouth at night, but keeping your mouth shut helps a lot of things, because kind of talking about sleep health right now. But the real silent killer, prostate cancer is one of the loud killers for men. Heart disease, loud killer, cardiovascular disease, all that. The silent killer for men is sleep apnea. And so that's something that we need to talk about a little bit more often. And I am all about nasal breathing. And I think that's going to help you keep some of your fluids and keep some of your sleep effects in the positive as well. But if you have to wake up to pee all the time, and I don't think all of the nasal dilation and supplements and drugs and mouth taping or any of that's going to matter, because your body's going to wake up if it thinks it's got to go to the bathroom. So get things in check. It's okay. You're not the only person in the world who's had to wake up to go to the bathroom. We've all been there. I have also noticed that when I'm not eating as many carbs, I don't hold on to water as much either, and that makes sense. You need glycogen. Glycogen sucks water up and everything, and that's why like carbs look a little more beefed up. I'm back on carbs, and that helped alleviate my bedtime issues, but I was almost thinking about popping this supplement until I kind of figured that out. So that's where I currently was, and I'm happy to say that I'm not waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, but if I go down that road again and I know that I have my carbs and diet in check and everything, it's time to get the blood test. It's time to get the work done. And before doing anything invasive, I know for a fact that this would be the supplement I would take. But in the meantime, I don't have it because my dad stole it. So hopefully you enjoyed. PricePlow.com/revive-MD is where you can sign up for the alerts, check out the prices, and use our PricePlow coupon to save a little bit of money. Yep, it's going to be a big one. This isn't the most expensive one, but it's it's cheaper than using like 3 or 4 different supplements to get that stack going. So that's why I like it. Long story short, thanks for watching. This is a long video, but it's a serious video for me, obviously, and I'm excited to deliver to you all the research that we have in the blog. So check out the link in the YouTube description, and if you're still here, because I know my mom and dad are probably still watching on this one as they had to make the B-roll. They're probably super excited to be part of the production process. Anyway, if you're still here watching, let's do a contest. We haven't done a giveaway for a little while, so I'm going to I'm going to buy it for you personally. Maybe Revive will send it. But anyway, if you're still here, we got 1 week from the publish date. On YouTube and Instagram, we're going to pick a random person. Just let's say just tell us what your favorite ingredient in this product is. We're gonna pick out one random winner. You gotta be in the US, just in case there's some expensive shipping. One random US winner. Let us know what your favorite ingredient in this supplement is. And that is it. Thanks again for watching. I know it was long, so hopefully someone can win one. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to PricePlow.